After the death of Moses, God called Joshua, the son of Nun, to lead the people of Israel into the promised land that had been promised to their ancestors. With enthusiasm and burning courage, Joshua was ready to fulfill God's calling. He felt the heavy burden of responsibility on his shoulders, but the assurance that God was with him gave him the strength to carry out this great mission. God commanded Joshua to be strong and courageous. He was instructed to obey all the laws that had been given to Moses and to communicate with God for guidance. With words that carried great significance, God emphasized that Joshua's success depended on his adherence to the divine law, and Joshua was determined to follow his commands as faithfully as possible. Joshua sent 2 spies to scout the land of Canaan, hoping to gather valuable information about their enemies. They went to Jericho and stayed in the house of a woman named Rahab, who was a prostitute. Cleverly, they devised a plan to return with useful reports, knowing how critical accurate information would be in facing the challenges ahead. Rahab promised to protect the spies in exchange for the safety of her family when the Israelites came to seize the city. In a tense atmosphere, the spies agreed to her terms and gave her a red cord as a sign of protection. Rahab demonstrated remarkable courage and faith by choosing to side with the Israelites, despite the significant risks involved. With God's guidance, Joshua led the Israelites across the Jordan River, a crucial moment in their journey into the Promised Land. After the priests carrying the Ark of the Covenant stepped into the water, the river parted, creating dry ground for the Israelites to cross safely. This miracle served as a tangible testament to God's power, accompanying them every step of the way. After crossing, Joshua commanded that 12 stones be taken from the riverbed and arranged as a memorial. These stones would serve as a sign for future generations of God's power and how he had led them. Joshua wanted to ensure that their descendants would always remember this great event and remain faithful to the Lord who had delivered them. Joshua led the Israelites to take the city of Jericho, known for its imposing walls. By God's command, they marched around the city once each day for 6 days. On the 7th day, with passion and steadfastness, they encircled it 7 times while shouting, confident that God would grant them victory. When the Israelites' cries resounded on the 7th day, the walls of Jericho crumbled dramatically. They stormed the city and captured it, obeying God's commands without hesitation. This victory marked the beginning of Israel's dominance in the Promised Land and became a symbol of faith and obedience to God's orders. After conquering several areas, Joshua allocated the land of Canaan among the tribes of Israel. He provided each tribe with a fair portion based on size and need, ensuring that everyone had a rightful place to dwell. This allocation represented an essential step in restoring the identity and status of the Israelites in the land that had been promised to them. At the end of his life, Joshua gathered all the people of Israel and gave them counsel. He reminded them to remain faithful to the Lord and not to deviate from his commandments. With all his heart, Joshua stressed the importance of commitment and faith, realizing that their choice to follow God would determine the future of the nation of Israel.